In this video, we'll be going over the components that each warrior has, which are listed on the warrior's profile card. Warrior's name. This lists the name of the warrior. The warrior that we're looking at the profile for today is called a usurper. Pawn type. To the left under where the warrior's name is written is where we see what kind of pawn it is. In Portals Worlds Collide, there are 4 different kinds of pawns. There are units, which can be a group of more than one warrior, elites, which are warriors who fight alone, spellweavers, which are elites who can cast spells, and behemoths, large monstrosities that suffer damage in several areas before they are slain. The usurper is a unit. Resources. Each pawn in Portals is worth a certain amount of resources. An average encounter of Portals is played at 50 resources. This means that neither player's gang can include more than 50 resources worth of pawns. Because the usurpers are units, they have 2 different resource costs, depending on whether you are including a captain and a grunt, which cost 25 resources for the usurpers, or if you are simply fielding the captain on her own, which costs 15 resources for the usurpers. Melee attack. This shows how good a warrior is at hitting enemies in melee. The usurper has a melee attack of 7. Melee defense. This is how good a warrior is at not getting hit in melee. The usurper has a melee defense of 8. Ranged attack. This shows how likely a warrior is to hit an enemy when she targets them with her ranged weapon. The usurper has a rather high ranged attack of 10. Ranged defense. This shows how difficult it is for a warrior to be hit by an enemy who targets her with a ranged shot. The usurper has a ranged defense of 8. Movement. This shows how far in inches a warrior can move every time she spends an action point to walk. Like most humans, the usurper has a movement of 4. Magic. Magic helps allied spells and deters enemy spells when cast nearby. For spellweavers, magic is their base casting score when they cast spells. Magic is a rare thing for most warriors in Portals, and the usurper has 0, which means that she has no effect on spells cast around her. Armor. The amount of armor your warrior has indicates both mental and physical resiliency. As a warrior is hit by ranged attacks, goes into melee, and sees nearby allies violently gutted in front of her, she will suffer from exhaustion, and her amount of armor goes down. The usurper has 3 armor. Guts. Similar to hit points, this shows the amount of damage your warrior can suffer before she is slain and removed from the battlefield. A usurper has 5 guts. Training. This shows the amount of training a warrior has. Training is one of the 2 modifiers explained in the previous video. A warrior can spend it to gain extra action points or to boost an attacking score. A usurper has 2 training. Ranged weapon. Where the ranged weapon is listed, it will show the weapon's stats. Reload, which shows how many action points must be spent in order to reload the weapon and shoot again. Range, which shows how many inches the weapon can shoot. And damage, which shows how much base damage the weapon inflicts after hitting an enemy. The usurper has an assassin's bow as her ranged weapon, which costs 2 action points to reload, has a range of 18 inches, and does 3 damage. Melee weapon. A warrior's melee weapon is listed to the right of her profile card. Where the melee weapon is listed, it will show the weapon's only stat, damage. This shows the base damage the weapon does after hitting an enemy in melee. The usurper has a dagger as her melee weapon, which does 1 damage after hitting an enemy. Attributes. These are unique traits that a warrior has. They are listed on the back of her profile card. The usurper's attributes are steady aim, stealth, and minimum range. Thank you for checking out our Kickstarter, and we hope you enjoy what you see.